Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Yeti here. In today's video, I want to give you guys a basic guide for one of my favorite add-ons, if not the favorite add-on I've been using in World of Warcraft on-off since Cataclysm, so for a very, very long time. It's the Unit Frames add-on that I use for player, target, target of target, focus, party, and even boss frames, and it's called Shadowed Unit Frames. Shadowed Unit Frames is a very minimalistic add-on that uses barely any performance and has a lot of features that a lot of people do not know about. I think that if you're using something like ElvUI, it's gonna look very, very similar to you. The only difference is that SUF, which is short for Shadowed Unit Frames, does not actually need any other add-on like ElvUI for the whole, UI replacement. It's just one add-on that does so many things. And people are often surprised that like just one add-on does so much of what is actually valuable in like the entire ElvUI set of features. I will also talk a little bit more about the boss frame, which are, in my opinion, the most overpowered part about this add-on. With SUF, you can make the boss frames behave in so many different ways. First of all, you can move the boss bars wherever you want. Let me show you how they look on mine, for example. So I have the boss frames. So mine, like all the other frames, are going to change the color of the health bar depending on the amount of health the boss has. I, of course, have the health percentage and the total amount of health remaining. You can do so many more things with it. With this though, I also use the boss frames to track the buffs and the debuffs. This is super useful if you're playing something like Warlock or a Shadow Priest, like a dot class. This is going to be absolutely overpowered. And also compared to the default boss frames, these are so much more modular. You can move them around, you can scale them how you like. You can actually make them behave in so many different ways, a lot of which I probably haven't even tried myself because I was not aware of how that can give you some sort of advantage. When I was watching the Race to World first, a lot of players in both sides, both Echo and Liquid, are actually using this specific add-on because they have realized how minimalistic it is in terms of performance. Spoiler alert, it actually takes away almost any FPS, and it has unlimited amounts of features, and it's probably like the most OG add-on that gave you the info you needed where you wanted it. So let's get into the add-on. So we're gonna start off by going into the add-on menu. You open up by doing /SUF. This is where you have the lock and unlock checkmark and also the advanced checkmark. You wanna turn this on because without the advanced settings, this is gonna basically be default on like half of the things, and a lot of those things we actually do want to change. This setting should not exist, but it's whatever, they added it here for a reason maybe, so we're going to make sure to check this. And of course, by locking the frames, you're going to be able to see where they currently are for you. When you just install this add-on, it's going to be very messy, and a lot of these frames will be all over the screen, but don't worry, we'll talk about some of them in some recommendations from my side, etc. So one of the first things I'm going to teach you is you can actually import profiles. I'll have my profile in the description. So you're going to have just a lot of rough text like that. And you're going to, of course, put it in here, paste it, and then accept. I did try importing my profile right here, and it actually froze my entire game. That's probably because I'm recording on top. So there we go. I imported the profile that I'm using. And once you're going to accept this, you should have my profile in here, which is going to allow you to play around with everything I set up. Or you can even start from ground up if you have a general idea of how you want your unit frames to look, or if you want to copy maybe ElvUI style that you already played with, that's totally fine as well. This add-on is very, very modular. I also want to show how I do my thing with health bars. Let me show you if I fly up in the air and I'm going to take some damage. You're going to soon realize that my health bar color is actually based on the amount of HP I have. The way I did this is I went into the colors menu right here. And for high health, I changed it from dark green into dark gray. That's the color right there. You can use Color Picker Plus to copy that exact color. And then, once I did that, I went into global and I selected every single frame that I could. So I'm doing this for boss, focus target, blah, 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 etc. All of these. And I made sure that health bar, health color is by health percent. Also, I'm using just very, very basic tags. So class color AFK name, it means that I'm using the class color of the person I'm targeted or my own character, whenever for this specific frame. And then it's going to tell me if the person is AFK. It's going to write like the AFK number, so I know if my friend is like AFK. And for health, I have current HP, and then I have percent HP. I do not use any colors for health bar because, as I said, color of the bar itself already changes depending on how much HP I have, because I just use the shadow unit frames like default, bar color by percent. I also want to mention here that SUF has kind of mediocre cast bars. If you want to have cast bars on your profile, you can actually have to either make it so it takes away half of the bar when you start casting, or that you actually have like a black bar under constantly taking up a bit of your screen. What I did is I just set up a very, very basic weak aura for all three of these frames. So player, target, and focus frames, I just use a very, very basic weak aura that I'm going to also put in description. It's scaled so it fits my profile. But yeah, this is very, very easy to make. You can even make it yourself if you want to go into new aura, pre-made aura, and then progress bar. You can actually go into cast right here. So this is going to be player, cast bar, and then you can just change the you can duplicate it, make one for target, make one for focus, etc., etc. This is totally up to you. I would actually really recommend you guys all to use more pre-made auras if you're trying to build your own UI. They are super powerful, and almost everything can be done via pre-made auras, which means everybody can do that. So now I want to talk a little bit about the boss frames. I think they are the objectively best thing about this add-on, and even if you're using default Blizzard UI for your player and target frames, you might look into shadowed unit frames, boss frames, because this is what the players in Race to World First did. It's really, really overpowered. So as you can see right here, what I do is I use the same health bar color by value, and then I use the health remaining and percentage right here. So same as I use for player. But the way I can show debuffs, is a lot easier. I can just put two big squares here. And if you're using if you're playing some sort of class that is using dots to deal damage, like Warlock, this is going to be crucial. Like dot tracking, I don't think is even available on Blizzard's boss frames. And this makes it a lot easier. It makes them so much bigger. Of course, you can change how big you want them to be. If you use my profile, they will be scaled to be exactly as big as the bar. But again, I'm trying to teach you how to build your own UI to make it, look better and to be more comfortable, that kind of stuff. You can change this based on what you want to do with it. You can also change the position if you want it under or more to the side. Also a lot of people that are playing strictly DPS will want these boss frames a lot closer to the center of their screen, so they have an easier time clicking as well. That is really, really smart to do. This is going to be super useful in a boss like Silken Court when you have two bosses at the same time, which means you will have, two frames right here, and you can keep both of them dotted by literally pressing here, 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 like, boss one, boss two. And it's crazy how far this actually goes. Like, this is literally like one thing that you can change in your UI, and it's going to make you have much more damage in two target boss fights. If you're just doing Mythic Plus, it's probably not as recommended, but I much prefer this kind of frame over anything else. It's just way cleaner, way simpler, and I would really recommend it for everybody. So I wanted to talk a little bit about aura filters as well. Shadowed Unit Frames has some of the deepest and most advanced aura filters that I have seen in an add-on. It's in a way simpler to grid too. If you're a healer, you might know that add-on. Nowadays, I think people are mostly using Cell, which is, again, very, very good. But Shadowed Unit Frames also has a lot of good options. It even has aura indicators, in all around, and you can have specific stuff being tracked. I'm actually not going to talk about this here, though. Instead, I want to talk about aura filters and blacklisting debuffs. So, for example, when I was doing the Dawnbreaker boss fight, I saw that all of my teammates had an aura that was allowing them to mount up in combat, right? It's called Radiant Light. And how do we make sure that goes away, right? So we go into Manage Aura Filters, we go into Blacklists, and I actually have already added a blacklist called Blacklist Debuffs right here, right? You can also, of course, make that yourself. If you're trying to do the same for buffs, you can go here onto Management, and you name the filter, and it's either blacklist, whitelist, whatever. I'm personally only going to be using blacklist because generally speaking, I want to show all the auras, right? So once you've done that, you go into filter zones, and we go into party because that's the specific frame I want to debuff everything out of. So I went into global and I just did blacklist debuffs. So now my blacklisted debuffs are being applied to party frames in every single situation. And now if we move into the party section right here, go under auras, I actually have all the buffs disabled. But for debuffs, they are enabled. And the ones I show is actually all of them. I show your auras, curable, castable by boss, any other auras. So yeah, I want to show what kind of debuffs are on my team, which is why obviously when you're showing so many of them, it is important to remove some via the aura filters. And let me actually show you what else I removed. I removed Sated, Challenger's Burden, Fatigue, Exhaustion, Temporal Replacement. These are just like the, Mythic Plus affixes, and this is the Bloodlust debuff that you get for 10 minutes. Of course, if you will be playing the game more, you can add more and more things here, and you can also make, more kind of whitelist, blacklist if you want. But to me, I just want to use what is as simple as possible. So now I want to talk about aura timers. Aura timers are basically these numbers here. When I apply debuffs, as you can see, they're counting down. OmniCC is an additional add-on that I use for timers and texts on Shadow Unit Frames auras. This works obviously on both buffs and debuffs. So here on the enemy, you can see those debuff timers right here. And on myself, you can see that I have Battle Shout remaining 35 seconds, and I have Ascension stacks on right now, and so on and so forth. OmniCC is another very, very lightweight add-on that actually disables Blizzard's text timers with a more modular and configurable text. So if you go into app options and if you do cooldowns, right here, show number for cooldowns. This is actually the exact same thing. It just takes away that is built into the game, and it has an add-on for it. And again, this is going to be very useful for classes like warlocks and priests. This is going to apply also to boss frames, right? Because without OmniCC, you will actually not have numbers. You will just have the rotating swipe of the remaining duration, which is good enough, honestly, for a class like Warrior, but it's not good enough probably for a Warlock or something. So I would just recommend you to get this add-on either way. To me, it's very nice. It's also going to replace the text on your weak auras and everything. Let me show you how my settings look so you can copy them if you want. So I go into OmniCC, and I'm going to show you the settings that I have here. So if we go into default and display, these are the settings I have right here. I have finish effect on none because I don't like the finishing pulse. And then typography, I have font on 14. I lowered the font quite a lot. I want it to be as default as possible. I even added a text shadow with thin outline. This is, I think, same as default World of Warcraft style. And then for color and scale, I have 100, 100, 75, 75, 75. And then CC, I have 150%. Another thing that is really important is you can also track buffs and debuffs via Plater, which has a built-in kind of standalone version of the timers. And I actually really like how Plater looks. So what I did is in Plater buff settings, I just made sure to have hide OmniCC / TulaCC timers. So you can actually also use the changing colors if you want on this add-on for Plater, but then you would disable the aura timer and you would also disable the hide OmniCC, and then you would have another window of settings there when you open the OmniCC settings. Of course, under buff special, you also want to do the same here. I have timer on now because I'm hiding OmniCC, but you could also hide the timer here and just have OmniCC do everything. And lastly, I want to talk a little bit about performance. So shadowed unit frames has generally almost no performance usage. I have been using this add-on for such a long time, and even using an add-on called add-on usage that is supposed to record and track the amount of CPU and memory that add-ons are using. It's virtually impossible to find how much of an impact SUF has. It's actually that freaking low. I tested the performance of this add-on and it uses close to no memory whatsoever, but it does sometimes have a bit of a CPU usage. However, it's not something you're ever going to notice. I sometimes even feel like my FPS is better with OmniCC, but that just might be because it's a little bit smoother, the way the numbers move and they change the colors. And as I said, when you turn off Blizzard's cooldown numbers, you're technically speaking making the game by itself do a little bit less, and then you make an add-on do a little bit more. So it's probably the exact same performance. So if you guys like how shadowed unit frames look, let's say my setup specifically, or in general, how they look on some streams that you see, because hopefully now you'll be able to recognize the add-on as well, I recommend you to use that add-on. I think Quasi's UI even has a profile that is based on shadowed unit frames instead of Elf UI. So you can also pick that profile up. I'm not here to, sell you my profile. All the stuff I put in the video is obviously for free, but I hope I kind of opened a gate for you that you can use to, have more information on the screen that you really care about. And I think your health and target health and buffs and debuffs, these are some of the most important things that you can get in terms of information in World of Warcraft. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.